Today we're going to talk about The Inheritance of Arcadia Divina, and this is the first adult fantasy standalone by Zoraida Cordova, who is fast becoming one of the authors I just need to insta-buy everything from. I originally got an ARC of this book from NetGalley, and after 30% of the book, waited till release day and bought myself a copy. It is a very pretty book copy. I don't know what the book of the month is like, but this is a very shiny sleeve, and then I really like that it's got this nice mahogany sort of thing. I like the spine. It has a gorgeous family tree, because family is very important in this book, as we'll talk about. But let's just look at this. Look at this family tree. This is stunning. So, quality of this book is amazing. I really like it, in case you cared about those sort of things. But as I do with a lot of my reviews, I'm just going to start at the top with my emotions, not talking about the synopsis or content. Then we'll go into brief synopsis and different things that I liked or didn't like that this book did to help you decide, is this a new release you want to read? So, firstly, I had a fantastic time. I read it relatively slowly, mainly because, like I said, I read the first 30%, then I'm like, ooh, I can tell I want to read this physically. I think sometimes I get that way where I'm like, this is the type of book that I need the physical book for. So then I put it on pause, waited till it came out on Tuesday, and then I went and bought it and basically just read the rest of it over the course of some days. It's split into parts, so sometimes I would just stop at a part and just let myself think about what's happening. There are moments that are very that drive the plot forward in a very intriguing way for me, so I was always really interested in what happened, and I generally had a really fun time. I think on how I rate books, it's a solid 4 out of 5. At times it was a 4.5 out of 5. I think if certain things were focused on more, it could have easily been one of my favorite books of the year. I still love the writing and things like that. That's always a standout for me with a Cordova. So if you've been interested in reading her works and you're not a young adult person, this is for sure an adult, more literary, fantasy, magical realism-ish book. Don't even really know how to genre define it other than vibes. It's very vibes, if that makes sense. And so in terms of the synopsis, the brief synopsis is that Arcadia Divina is the matriarch of this large family. At the beginning, you meet her building her house in what is called the Four Rivers, and it doesn't seem like a traditional construction team or anything like that. There's definitely mystical properties to this woman. She's able to raise a house from the ground, essentially. So that's the matriarch of this family. And then fast forward to present day, all of her family are coming to the house because she has invited them all because she is about to die, and it's time for them to collect their inheritance. That's how the story begins. And it's one of those things where there's family secrets. There were deals that were made at night that, maybe there are regrets. You don't really know what the situation is because this matriarch is really bad at preparing them in some ways. She's I'm really sorry, I did my best. Good luck, guys. That's kind of the setup. And we primarily follow 3 members of this large family. 2 of them live in New York City and the other one lives in Oregon. And they have very distinct, vibrant personalities that I really loved following. I think the character work is my favorite part of this book and really a highlight, and the family dynamics. It was very much like watching, I think I was buddy reading this with Leanna from Leanna's library. She mentioned Knives Out. There was another movie that I'm already forgetting the name of, even though she looked it up for me. I'll put a cover here of a UK movie where it's very much this chaotic family dynamic at some points. And I had a really great time with that character work. I thought thematically, it being about the story of finding home and your place in the universe was really great and compelling. I am always on the lookout for Latine works that connect with me, and this one really does. So the author herself is Ecuadorian, and this book takes place in Ecuador at times. Ecuador is very close geographically to Venezuela, which is where my family's from. So some of the foods reminded me of foods that I grew up with, and that was really fun. But another thing that was such a nice touch that I really, really connected with is most of the members of this family only have passing conversational Spanish, which is never in media, ever. A big part of being a part of the Latine community is being able to speak the language, but not everyone who is from a Latine family is taught the language. That's not always a focus. It was not in my family. So I have passing conversational Spanish, but I'm not fluent. And it always sucks every time you meet someone, especially when I meet a fellow Venezuelan and then they start talking to me in Spanish and I'm like, oh man, I cannot. I'm so sorry. You thought when I said that meant I could speak Spanish, and it doesn't. And it's always awkward, and I always feel bad, and I like an imposter. I think that's the big one. You get a lot of imposter syndrome when you don't speak the language. And in this book, they don't speak Spanish. they can't. Like, that's like, it resonated with my personal experience of being like the first generation to be born in the United States. Because most of these characters, because Orcadia moved to the United States, basically the middle of nowhere. It's really cool. There are these cool postcards that she was posting online that I really liked. And I liked that. I liked a lot of these things that made it feel like a really real situation, but also there's so much cool magic and a creepy circus, and like, it very much had fall vibes for me. Like, I don't actually know what makes a book a fall book. Like, I watch all the recommendation videos and everything like that, but I would say this is kind of a fall book. It has a lot of focus on, like, nature magic, and it's very much atmospheric at times. Like, you go through all the seasons, but there are just a lot of unsettling, mysterious vibes that I think make it a fall book. So I've talked about the writing and the themes and the characters. I do think the weakest thing for me, the thing that does prevent it from being a 5-star experience, is the plot. And also the plot is a thing I really liked. Like, there were moments that happened that I was like, oh no, what's going to happen? Like, I was on the edge of my seat being like, oh, things aren't good. What are we doing next? But my favorite parts were the quiet moments, which is not unusual as for me as a reader, but there are a lot of regroup moments for these characters. There's like a whole time jump at one point in the book, and you get to watch people regroup and grow and come to terms with what they want with life, and I really liked that. And then when we switch into the more fast-paced, mysterious plot, I did like parts of that, but personally the payoff of that mystery I didn't love as much as the mystery, if that makes sense. And I wasn't even ever in the mystery trying to solve it or anything like that. It's just, I liked being on the edge of my seat and being like, oh, what's going to happen next? What's going on? Everything's so, like, tense. You know, like, I really liked that feeling. And then once the answer is given, I was like, that was fine. I think that's how it was. It's like, I was really engaged, invested, 4.5 star. And then the reveal made it a 4-star. But that could go differently for different people, I feel like, especially since traditionally mystery is not a driving force for me in a story. But in this narrative, I was very intrigued by what this family was trying to figure out and go through because something their matriarch did. Another thing I really liked about this is that it is basically 2 timeline storytelling. You have our present day, and then we go into the past and we learn about Orcadia. Oh, that was super cool. I really liked learning about her. I didn't think I would get lucky enough to have her as like a character I got to know, and I thought that was really cool. I really liked her as a character. So again, the character work was really great for me. I think everything that I liked, I wouldn't have minded having more of, especially if like the plot was a little different. Like, I think if this was actually more literary fiction than fantasy, I would have loved it a lot more. That said, still really liked it. I still really recommend it. I think it, like every Zoraida Cordova I've read so far, it does not overstay its welcome, and I think that's masterful. I don't think we ever give authors enough credit for coming in, telling the story they came to tell, and being done. Like, I love a good long book. I just read Ship of Destiny by Robin Hobb. That's like 900 pages. Like, I like a good long book. But I also really appreciate like a 320-page book that came, it said what it wanted to say, and then it was done. And I find that's happened in every Cordova I've read. It's probably why her young adult duology is one of my favorites, because each book's like 300 pages and doesn't really like meander or overstay its welcome. So yeah, that is what I think of The Inheritance of Orquídea Divina. I love family stories. I loved the family dynamics. There was a part where I just paused the book and was laughing in my living room, and Ryan had to just like look over at me and was like, what? So I love books that can do that for me. I love getting emotional connections and responses from the media I read. I just think the plot trajectory wasn't my favorite, and I'm an endings girl, so it's just kind of what happens. If you're not an endings person, I think you could love this even more than me, because the journey is so lush. It's completely wonderful, and I think the magic is really interesting, and I really like how we're in a contemporary day with magic, but it's not a world that's used to magic, and how we maneuver that space was incredibly entertaining to me. So that's it for this one. If you want to leave an emoji just to let me know you're here, feel free to leave a rose emoji. And if you have any thoughts or questions, like if you've read this book yet and want to talk about it with me in the comments or in my Discord. We do have a whole channel for this book where we've been talking about it. And like if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.